Yes, we're here. We're here. This is Doug with his better half, actually better seventh, eighth.
That's right.
And co-host Kelly. And we're also joined today by, as always, Mr. Ed Davis, the executive producer of the TAN Talk Radio Network. Excuse me. And Ed, we have just what we unfortunately predicted would happen: Sunday night football with the Bucks. What kind of luck have they had on Sunday nights?
Oh, about being on prime time?
Yeah.
Not much. It spilled over to last night. We were at an establishment not far from the stadium last night. And when it got to, I said, if the Bucks kick the ball back to them with 4 minutes left, we're leaving because it's over.
Yeah. Got
the check, started to walk out the door, and everybody was all surprised we lost.
Yeah. It was a shame. Not the ending we hoped for the season, but anyway, they're out. It's over.
That's it.
It's over.
Nothing to do until August.
Yeah, that's right. It's all next year type of thing. But they do have some needs that they're going to have to fill on defense.
Like head coach.
Yeah, that too. A lot of people aren't too happy with Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
But we were able to constantly get to the playoffs, but then we fizzle out.
Yeah.
And that's not good for contractual.
We're barely getting there, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we have a great show for you today. It's really interesting. We got two friends of ours who are guests who are doing well, we'll let them tell you their story. And Kel, what's new with you?
You put me on the spot. Not a whole lot.
No, Ed, how about you? Anything going on?
I was going to say tough questions get tougher.
Yeah, right as we go on. No, it's been really an interesting year for the Bucks, and we're going to see what happens next year. And they may have a coaching change. Who knows? I doubt it.
Who knows?
But who the heck knows? We have a chat a little today about some of the hurricanes situations that we've had. And I'm not talking about the greatest college team in the history of the U.S., not the Miami Hurricanes, which just happened to be my alma mater. Just
there you go.
Coincidentally, it's ironic that I worked that in there, didn't I? But, of course, there are no laughing matter hurricanes. They put a lot of strain on people and ruin lives, etc. But, Kel?
Yes, I wanted to say that we are live on Facebook and YouTube and podcast at internetradiopros.com.
Yeah.
Boy, I better stop stuttering.
Yeah, and then you just you just click on our link, and there you are.
There you are.
And we have a lot of expats, believe it or not, who stay in touch with goings on here in our area, communities who in Europe and in the Far East and even Australia, etc. So,
I love Australia.
Yeah, me too. It's a great country.
Koala bears.
So anyway, we're going to take a short break. Right?
We
are. Did you have something else you'd like to offer?
I did not.
Okay. We'll be back right after these messages, so stay with us on the Kelly Show.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
In 1955, the law firm now known as Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes made a decision. Instead of taking whatever cases came through their doors, they decided to focus specifically on personal injury. 64 years later, the law firm is one of Clearwater's longest-running personal injury firms. Available 24 hours a day with offices in Clearwater and throughout Tampa Bay, they're ready to put decades of experience to work for you if you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or injured due to someone's negligence or recklessness. If you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure about your next steps after being involved in an accident or after a loved one sustained serious injuries due to someone else's negligence, call Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes at 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. That's 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. Non-attorney spokesman. Just about everyone is fascinated by the mafia. Books and movies like The Godfather, Goodfellas, Casino, and many others became bestsellers and box office hits. Did you know that a century ago, mobsters like Al Capone discovered Florida's tropical climate and sparse law enforcement? Mafia bosses from around the nation began setting up illegal operations in Florida. Now, for the first time, a new book titled Sunshine State Mafia, A History of Florida's Mobsters, Hitmen, and Wise Guys provides vivid stories and never-before-seen images of dangerous criminals who settled in Florida full or part-time. Written by renowned author Doug Kelly, Sunshine State Mafia exposes the hidden history of the mob throughout the state and includes Doug's own brushes with crime figures. Sunshine State Mafia is available at all major book retailers, or obtain a signed copy by calling 727-724-4949 or email sunshinestatemafia@gmail.com.
What do the most successful companies have in common? They leverage growth by forming valuable relationships and partnerships. Amplify Clearwater puts you in touch with accomplished business and community leaders that inspires networking and helps you navigate the best courses of action for your company. Become a member and instantly acquire a powerful edge over your competitors by forming strong connections with top business leaders and elected officials. Amplify Clearwater. One community, one chamber, one vision. Contact us at amplifyclearwater.com or call 727-461-0011. That's amplifyclearwater.com. 727-461-0011.
Discover Clearwater like never before with iloveclearwater.com. Whether you're a resident or a visitor, our website is your go-to source for all things Clearwater. Find the best hotels, restaurants, parks, shopping, and events all in one place. Dive into our engaging photos and videos. Explore over 500 informative articles. Visit iloveclearwater.com today and experience the best of Clearwater. iloveclearwater.com, your ultimate guide to Clearwater for fun, sun, and smiles.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Kelly Kelly Show. I'm Kelly Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Doug Kelly, and we have some wonderful guests today. Andrew and Doreen Caudell of DMOR Development?
DMOR General Contracting and Development.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't memorize the title of the company, but
It's all right.
this is the second time that they've been guests on the show, and this, just to refresh everyone's memory, can you tell us about yourself?
Of course, yeah. We have both been working together since 2001 here in Clearwater, Florida, in the Tampa Bay in Florida, the state of Florida, but also all over the country. And then outside of the country, a little ways,
Yeah.
the Air Force, the United States Air Force hired us to go to the island of Ascension, which is some 5,000 miles off the coast.
Yeah, south
But
of
Andy and I are both commercial general contractors, residential general contractors, and we're here today to go over some of the key points, I guess, we want to hit on or inform the community about as it relates to Hurricane Helene and Milton and what we can do. We're here to help. We're here to help our citizens. And I think we have a pretty comprehensive, especially Andy's knowledge. He not only is a general contractor, but he has an engineering and survey background, born and raised here in Florida. And then his father also was responsible for the coastal construction setback line for the entire state of Florida.
Wow.
The state of Florida actually hired him. So Andy was born and raised in that environment. And I could tell you that if we looked up at Countryside behind Countryside Mall, he's probably touched every truss and every house that's up there.
Wow.
So he's got a real good understanding about that. And so he'll share some of his key elements about why he's developed a team of engineers and architects and himself to help not only our state of Florida, but also Western North Carolina. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to just ask quickly, where is the island of Ascension?
Go ahead.
It's 1,200 miles off the coast of Africa, 5,000 miles south of here. It's the 45th Space Wing. It's an island. It's a British colony. The U.S. has a presence there back in the 80s when they started the space shuttle program. They wanted some locations on the Earth where they could land space shuttle in case of emergency.
Huh.
back in the 80s, this island had the longest runway in the world. It was built by the British. It's a little over 2 miles, and so they contracted to have a presence on the island, and then during that time frame, they set up the communications network. They communicate with space. All the space activity is not done satellite to satellite. It's done by Earth to ground to space station. And there's 6 locations in the world that they communicate with, and as the space station orbits, it switches to these different locations, so it's direct line of communication. So it's just more secure. They control that space, that airway. So that's why and the Island of Ascension is one of their locations. So although they don't have the space shuttle program any longer, they still have a presence there. So every once in a while they need work done on the island, so we would go down and do we've rehabbed dorms, and we've rebuilt their sewage treatment system, and we've done many different things for them. So
let's cut to the chase. How's the fishing?
It's best fishing almost in the world.
Really?
If the shark don't eat the fish.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get them in quickly.
Yes.
You can't use that light tackle too much.
No, that's the biggest problem, because the sharks know everybody fishes there.
Bull sharks.
Yes.
Yeah, everything.
Magos.
Yeah, they also have Galapagos sharks and all kind of.
He said offhandedly.
Yes. So there's all kind of sharks that love that whole environment.
And that's something. Wow.
Yeah.
But I guess you have also flats and bone fishing and
there is some backcountry.
Yeah.
Too.
It's pretty rocky. I mean, it's an ancient volcano, so it's pretty rocky. It's 26 square miles.
Black beach. Black sand beach.
Some of it is. Some of it's regular beach. I mean, some of it has a beach element to it. Most of the vegetation on the island was brought in back in the 1800s. There was a botanist that was bringing plants in from all over the world to try to see what would grow there. So most of the plants that are there are all from other areas.
Well, I'm sorry I spinned it off into the Island of Ascension.
Yeah, there we go.
I guess we can get back to hurricanes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's interesting though.
It is very much so.
Yeah. Well, hurricanes, of course, are the bane of the tropics.
Yes.
Even the
Yeah,
Island of Ascension,
And the Pacific too.
Yeah.
And of course they call them typhoons, but same
Mm-hmm.
thing, basically. It's the widespread destruction and the flooding and all the other things are just off. What were the common types of damage that you encountered in homes that were impacted by hurricanes Helene and Milton?
Most of it's flooding. There is some wind damage, but it's mostly flooding and rising water. So houses are all a lot of the house. I mean, there's like 12,000 homes or I should say structures that have been affected by flooding in Pinellas County.
Pinellas, wow.
Yeah. So
12,000.
Is it mostly on the coast or inland?
well, it's all in low-lying areas. It's not all of it's in the coast. There are some areas that are adjacent to Tampa Bay and things like that that have flooding that are and also just low-lying areas. But they have tributaries that that are close to like Tampa Bay waters and things like that. But yeah, and it's mostly drywall damage. Obviously, most of the drywall's ripped off the house is 4 feet up, and all the doors have to be replaced because they swell, and all the cabinets have to be replaced because they're falling apart. The flooring, if it's wood flooring, all of that kind of stuff, and then and then you have to be concerned about the mold issues almost immediately.
Yeah. Got to pull all those out because they're waterlogged.
Anything that absorb moisture has to be removed.
The problem comes into place when it's the FEMA 50% rule, and we'll talk more about that in the later questions. But, I think that's what the struggle is in the rebuilding of the area overall is, how do we mitigate through FEMA's 50% rule? And how do we get an expedited permitting process throughout the region as a whole? Because it's not just here in Pinellas County, but it's also Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus and Manatee and so forth. So you can think from Panama all the way down past Sarasota, Bradenton. We've had some real challenges as it relates to that FEMA 50% rule.
Well, it's interesting, I guess you could say, that so many people take things in their own hands too. Instead of hiring a licensed contractor who knows how to jump through the hoops and cut through the red tape, they try to go it alone. And that's got to be really frustrating.
Well, it's not only just frustrating, but it also causes very serious problems. They move forward so quickly, and then they don't realize that they're going to be stopped, and then they're going to have to rip it out and do it again.
Oh, wow.
Or there's scenarios where there's homeowners that have gone forward with repairing their home only to find out that they've exceeded the 50% rule, and they now need to lift the home.
Oh my gosh.
So there's so many different challenges to do the work without having a licensed contractor and an engineer and an architect as part of your team is very risky.
Dangerous.
Yeah. And in the future, it's for this resale value and also the insurance side of things. It actually costs us, Sheriff Gualtieri did a great job, and our police department here locally and many of the others, of course, monitoring and policing the unlicensed contracting, but that has repercussions on the ones of us that are licensed and that are insured. We actually have to pay for that, cost of
Like
that.
uninsured motorists and
Sure.
carpools.
Yeah.
How are residents coping?
Truly, they're not. As you might have heard recently, our Madam Chair of the Pinellas County Commission just recently put a news clip out last week. I think it was the end of last week, where they aren't because the permitting is just so delayed. So everybody's just in this holding pattern. And then they're starting to realize that their home, perhaps because of the letters that are being issued, are deemed over the 50% rule. So there are then no longer options to rebuild that existing home. Now you have to actually consider it being raised. And then it goes into what Andy has established as his team with engineers and architects, where, now we're talking soils testing. Now we're talking does the cost analysis look appropriate to raise the home? Those are some of the challenges that we're facing. Yeah.
Can you explain about the 50% rule? Because I kind of got lost there.
Actually, Andy can explain it
Okay.
very well as it relates to what that means truly.
No, that's they take the depreciated value of the structure itself. Has nothing to do with the real estate and what the dirt's worth. So the lot is taken out of the equation, and then they look at what they believe the structures were. 50% of the value of the structure at the time of the event. So some structures, if it's a bigger structure, like bigger houses, maybe 2 stories, it may have a $1 million or $750,000 structural value. Well, that means you can spend, and most of your damage is downstairs. That means you can spend half of that, or 49% of that, to fix that. And you won't have to do anything else to the home. If it's over that amount, then you actually either take the house down or you raise the house, make the house compliant, which means you raise the house to whatever the minimum flood elevation is.
Does that mean you raise it on pillars, or how is a house raised?
It's everybody does it the same way. I mean, you can look it up on the internet, YouTube, whatever. They'll show you how they raise houses. Everybody does the same way. You have to tunnel under the house, which becomes, and most people don't realize the expenses of all this, because the cost for raising a house, I mean, the raw cost for picking the house up, just picking the house up without doing anything else to it, not fixing it, not making it accessible. Those numbers are somewhere between $125 to $165 a foot.
A foot.
Yeah. So if you got a 2,000 square foot house, you're spending a lot of money. Yeah. So, being that's just to get the house up, and that's quite a bit of effort, because you have to tunnel underneath the house, and if most houses don't have much of a lot, So all of the dirt that comes out from the house has to be hauled off. It can't stay there. So all that has to be hauled off. And you get underneath the house and you bring these steel beams and you put cross beams and smaller beams in about 4 to 5 feet on center. And then you put the larger beams, the length of the house, and those, depending upon how wide the house is, there's 2 or 3 or 4 of those. And then they assemble, they take these jacks, some are like a 20-ton jack, and they'll put these jacks all under the house at wherever the bearing points are designed to be, because the structural engineer designs all of this. He designs how the structure is going to be supported during the lift, and then he also designs the foundations that are going to be done, installed after the house is lifted. So you get the house up in the air. So you put all these jacks underneath it, and jacks, take it up about 1 foot or 16 inches at a time. They're all hooked to one pump, so they all work uniform. So the whole house goes up at the same time. If you lifted a house that was not damaged, you can leave the furniture in it, pictures on the wall. A lot of times, if possible, we'll leave the air conditioners, have the power hooked up so that the air conditioner stays running while it's being lifted. Because you want it to be, and it's going to be up there for a while until they build all the infrastructure underneath it to support it, and also to make it accessible again, because it still has to have entry stairs and everything else that it takes. You still have to hook the plumbing back up, got to hook the water back up, get everything operational, make it look like a complete home. So you have all these efforts that people don't realize. So you can spend you can spend that kind of money to lift it at $150 bucks a foot, $160 bucks a foot to lift it, and that gets it up in the air and gets the foundation built. And after that, you still have to develop the space below. Either it's going to be a garage, but now that if it has a garage integral to the home, then that becomes a living space. So now you have a new garage you have to construct, all the columns and everything that holds it all up, enclose whatever spaces they want to be enclosed. You can develop downstairs living spaces, outside living spaces, TVs and outside kitchens and all that. You can do all that downstairs. Now you have all this extra space that you can do things with and enjoy. So those things all add into this. So you still have to repair the home after you've lifted it. So that may cost you $100,000 or whatever it may be to put all the drywall back up, cabinets, doors, could be more than that. I'm doing a house now, which is just the cabinets alone are almost $60,000.
60,000 per
Yeah,
cabinet?
yeah. But that's 2 bathrooms, kitchen, and laundry room.
Wow.
All those cabinets. So you can spend a lot of money on doing it, and they don't get much cheaper. I mean, cabinets are expensive. You might be able to cut $20,000 out of that if you pick the cheapest grades and that kind of stuff.
And our steel prices are going up, and concrete prices are going up too.
So
It's really starting to.
you have to do all those things, and you have to engage an architect that is creative and can take that elevation that was on the ground and turn it into something that still looks like a house and is comfortable to look at and is comfortable to live in. So stairs to get out, how are you going to arrange the stairs? You make stairs to come in. Sometimes you put the entry stairs where the old garage was. It comes up underneath the house and comes in the house, and that's some kind of, and then you redo the garage space to be the entry, change the front elevation so it looks correct. Doesn't look like a house perched up in the air with an old porch on the front of it.
Yeah.
Those are the things that has to be thought through.
Sure.
So you can spend $25,000, $30,000 on
Just on the design.
depending on what you want to do for a design.
Yeah.
You can spend $20,000, $30,000 on just the design, and then you can spend another $100,000, $200,000, whatever you want for the house to look. Most people that raise a house and that has damage, I mean, you're going to be spending somewhere around $500,000.
Wow.
Yeah, just on the lift. So you can tell that the price of the home actually needs to be of that caliber for it to be raised. So homes that are in the Elevate Florida plan that we'll talk about a little bit later, sometimes those are a little bit less money and the numbers don't work. It's best to either sell the dirt or rebuild correctly without lifting the existing home.
Every house has its own. You have to analyze every house.
Yeah.
You want the homeowner to get the best value for what they're having to do. them being comfortable with it. I mean, to take a house that they've been living in for 10 or 15, 20 years, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they got to dump another $500,000 in it just to live in the same home again.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that make sense to you? Some people it does. Some people, they love the house they have. Some people, sometimes the house has a element about it that it'll look fine lifted and with things changed. Some homes won't. It's just,
From the outside, do these lifted houses look like the ones like in Apalachicola on stilts?
if you want it to look that way, you can.
It doesn't have to, though.
No, that's why I say if you engage the right architect, they will come up with a front elevation of the house that makes it look like it's not. It may still have an air of being a lifted home, but it's going to look more like a house that's comfortable to live in and accessible and it feels okay. I mean, it feels good. And that's the biggest thing, is trying to, when you're done with this, make the house still feel like a home and still feel comfortable and pleasing to look at and all that goes with it.
Also, it seems that all these steps along the way, too, if you're not being advised or you haven't hired the right people, you can end up with something, like you said, you have to have it inspected and you have to tear down everything you already did because you did not know you needed to have an inspection date on this and what have you. And that's where your value comes in even greater.
Yeah, and then a lot of these people that have gone and fixed their homes that don't have the 50% rule wasn't an issue, then there is some room for them to do it as a homeowner, hiring the subcontractors. There is an allowance for that. And each municipality works differently with that. But generally speaking, once you get to where but you still have to pull a permit. If you don't pull a permit, then you're subject to them coming in and say, take it all out and start over again.
Are some municipalities more difficult with permitting process?
Sometimes they are, but right now, everybody's trying to figure out how to make it work.
Make it happen.
But it's complicated because there's more than, it's not just that entity. You still have FEMA to deal with, and the state still has. They still all have opinions and parts of this that they're included with.
Now, for those who don't know what FEMA is, that's Federal Emergency Management Agency, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So where are these people living? They're not in their houses.
Some of them are living in their houses because they've gone through and inspected the homes, and they've gone and they've made a determination if the home is occupiable.
Okay.
It may not be. It still has drywall and things like that missing, and it's still the downstairs, or people are living in them. They'll get a placard that's in green. The lettering is in green, and it says it's occupiable, which means it's safe. It's not structurally damaged. Doesn't appear to have any mold issues. Those kind of things. So you'll see them if you drive up and down the beach, you'll see them on the fronts of the doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
And over the holidays, actually, there's been photos in social media where they've had a Christmas tree, but then you can see behind the Christmas tree that the drywall's removed 4 feet up on the wall.
Wow.
I mean, people are making the best of the situation. It's unfortunate, but
Some people are pulling RVs and parking in front of their house.
in their driveway.
So they have
that's allowed.
Yes, they're allowing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're allowing that.
It's time to take a short break, and then we're going to get back to this. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
In 1955, the law firm now known as Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes made a decision. Instead of taking whatever cases came through their doors, they decided to focus specifically on personal injury. 64 years later, the law firm is one of Clearwater's longest-running personal injury firms. Available 24 hours a day with offices in Clearwater and throughout Tampa Bay, they're ready to put decades of experience to work for you if you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or injured due to someone's negligence or recklessness. If you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure about your next steps after being involved in an accident or after a loved one sustained serious injuries due to someone else's negligence, call Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes at 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. That's 727 796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. Non-attorney spokesman.
What do the most successful companies have in common? They leverage growth by forming valuable relationships and partnerships. Amplify Clearwater puts you in touch with accomplished business and community leaders that inspires networking and helps you navigate the best courses of action for your company. Become a member and instantly acquire a powerful edge over your competitors by forming strong connections with top business leaders and elected officials. Amplify Clearwater. One community, one chamber, one vision. Contact us at amplifyclearwater.com or call 727-461-0011. That's amplifyclearwater.com. 727-461-0011.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, thank you for sticking with us here on the Kelly Kelly Show. I'm Doug Kelly with Kelly Kelly, my better half and co-host, and also Big Ed Davis in the control room. And Kel, let's talk about who our guests are and what they're here to talk about.
We have Andrew and Doreen Caudell of DMAR
General contracting.
General Contracting. Why can't I remember that? Okay. And we are talking about lifting houses, hurricane damages, and you said something over the break that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was relating to a lot of the situations people have when they have their homes and they can't afford to do all these different things. All of a sudden, you see a lot of sellers showing up.
You do. There's a good majority of the homes that are in shore acres that actually are listed for sale. And basically, you're buying the dirt because the people can't actually do the things that are required to repair the home.
Wow.
They're just in a position.
Well, if you have
it's
a price
unfortunate.
tag of $100,000 or $500,000, it's a lot of people can't come up with that.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So $1 million houses are selling for $300,000.
Yes.
I got all excited at first
Oh,
until
it's not
you
a
said
dream.
that you can't
must-
live in them.
No.
It's that, and as when we're talking, some of these, some people have gone in and repaired their homes
Mhm.
before because the county was doing
Incentive.
a damage assessment
Mhm.
to all the homes,
Mhm.
and they're sending out official damage assessment letters stating whether or not the home is going to be condemned,
Wow.
and only because it's below the flood elevation. If the damage that was done to the house they deem is more than 50% of the value of the home, then the home becomes unrepairable because you
Wow.
can't live in the house at that point.
Yeah.
And people have gone ahead and done the repairs to their home, and they're living in their homes because they got the green card that says, yes, you can live in the home. It's not structurally damaged and you don't have any mold issues. But they hadn't got the letter of substantial damage.
Through
Once they
FEMA.
get the letter of substantial damage stating that the home cannot be repaired, it has to be either lifted or torn down and rebuilt to a new home. And if they've gone in and already done that work,
Oh, yeah,
they're out.
You're out. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That-
Do you have any statistics of how many people are affected?
No, because people aren't publishing the fact that they're doing this without permits. So,
Oh,
so,
Yeah.
okay.
so there would be. Eventually, it'll come out, but we won't know that until the county puts out a report of. You know,
The county really hasn't put out reports. There are some cities, though, that are putting out reports that show how many permits have been pulled and how
Mhm.
many houses have been deemed in this category, if you will. And even though those houses are deemed in that kind of category, if you are in a position that you can actually demo the house or lift the house, you still can do those things. It's just that you have to have the money to do it.
Mhm.
And that's really the point of it. You know, I'll put a plug in for Senator Nick DeSegli and the fact that, and even our Congress District 13, Anna Punaluna, and some of the other commissioners and state representatives throughout Florida, they're really working hard. There is a program out there called Elevate Florida. Basically, you go through the review and you go through evaluation, then you go through mitigation, and then you go through acquisition to see if, in fact, you can come if they will support some funding to help you with that. But of course, the funding is not like it's given to you and then that's it. You literally have to pay it back. Of course, it's almost like a low interest mortgage, if you will. You know, the biggest thing that is the challenge here is the question. Some folks own the homes outright and can repair them completely and live in them and be done. But the problem comes when you go to resell it or go to get insurance for it. That's where the issues come into play.
Or
So-
what happens if you have a mortgage on the house?
If you have a mortgage, the mortgage company is going to require you to have insurance. So it's not going to work.
And
That's why these
are
folks are
they
walking away.
liable for that full value amount on their mortgage?
I'm not sure if mortgage
Okay.
company. I have no idea what
Oh.
mortgage companies are doing at the moment.
I
With that.
doubt full value. I doubt,
Wow.
Yeah.
I doubt that.
There's probably some negotiating going on, kind of like the sinkholes of the day.
Mm.
You know, back in the day before they really started tightening up what the available
Mhm.
funds were for sinkholes in our region. But I can remember back in the early days where when you had sinkhole problems with a home, you could go through a lawsuit, satisfy the mortgage, and then also get a cash sale out of the home. I'm not sure that's going on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have the building codes changed recently?
No, but we think that there might be some considerations going into this new session
Okay.
that will help folks with this. Because, you got to imagine we've got to work with all these citizens. I mean, so like Andy said earlier, a lot of these folks have lived in these homes for a very long time.
Mhm.
It's certainly unfair.
Absolutely.
I had a couple that I was talking with in Madeira Beach, small place,
Yeah.
had been added on a couple of times. And they bought the house 30 years ago, paid it off, sold their house where they lived. For this was their dream,
Yeah, retirement.
ready to retire down here. They don't have fixed income. This comes along, takes the house out from underneath them, and they don't have the ability to get a new house. They can't live on the piece of property that they wanted.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to build a house. And this house is not. I would not recommend lifting this one. It was only like 1,000 square feet,
It doesn't
but
work.
it was
in the
just it was just bits and pieces all put together
moment.
Wow.
over the years. So I mean, there's a bathroom that was added, and another the carport was enclosed into a garage, and then it was turned into a living space, and just on and on.
Well, a lot of sad stories.
It is.
We've been trying to help, as much as we possibly can. There's many homes that he has in his log to lift or to rebuild on different lots, whether here, Tampa, Sarasota, all throughout the areas that have been affected. But we are also trying to help the folks that, can't get through it. It's just difficult. It's very heartbreaking.
The architect that we use, he's developing some plans that are as affordable as he can make them. I mean, the dollars for building elevated homes, you're somewhere between $375 and $400 a foot to build an elevated home.
And really not much you can do about it because
No.
you're dealing with so many different contractors for
That's
different
right.
things.
That's right.
Concrete,
Yeah,
electrical, plumbing.
and just pick
Windows, doors.
Yeah, just to build a home above grade rather than on grade.
Mhm.
That's a $100,000 effort to elevate the foundations,
Wow.
and all columns, and then in these homes, most of them have to be on some kind of piling system now because the codes are that, and that's not a new code, but now that the houses are being rebuilt, they're mostly all having to be put on pilings, and they'll use auger cast driven piles, or they'll use helical piles, which are screwed into the ground.
And that
Oh.
depends on the, I'm sorry, Dave, but
Yeah,
that depends on the soils test.
That's exactly right.
So, there's certain areas within our region that these guys are, I hear the word soils test in our office constantly because he's constantly saying to the engineers and the architect, well, where's the soils test? Did you get the report back? What's the engineer saying? Because that determines what type of piling that they're using.
Yeah. How the
Yeah.
foundation's built.
Yeah.
The soils, they give you a bearing weight of what the soils are capable of bearing as far as
And
weight.
prices for things like steel never go down, do they? They just keep going
No,
up and up
They
and
keep
up.
going up, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Mhm.
Incredible.
Can you give any advice to homeowners to better prepare their properties for future storms?
The only The only thing I can say is not so much the homes, maybe the contents.
Mhm.
You know, and that if you know you have
Get
the
flood
potential,
insurance.
yeah. If you know you have the potential of flood, if you have valuables and things that you are dear to you, make sure they're up closer to the ceiling than they are to the floor.
Mhm.
Just small things.
Or get the cars out.
Yeah, get the cars
get the
out of
toys
there.
and the things. Get them out of here.
Especially electrical cars.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Or your collectible
But it
ones.
doesn't
Yeah.
now because all the cars are so electronic. It doesn't matter what car it is.
Yeah.
If it gets if it gets above the hump in the floor or above the transmission, all the sensors are shot. It's
Really?
oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, once it gets
The plugs get wet.
yeah, once you get to the starter, it shorts out the computer, the onboard computer, and there's multiple computers in cars now.
Mhm.
So everything shorts out, and it's total.
Well, a little different in North Carolina. It's freshwater, so a little different.
Okay.
A little
Yeah,
different.
you can
You can save a car a little bit more
Yeah.
there than you can here.
But the Mississippi is not too close to
Yeah.
a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I have friends in Boone,
Mhm.
in the northwest
Yep.
section, and it's amazing how much damage they got.
We
Oh,
we did.
yeah.
We have properties in North Carolina as well. So Andy actually has been up there between the hurricanes. He was helping with one of the road excavating companies up there in North Carolina to get hay to the mules to the rural area.
Look at
Oh,
that! Look at
yeah.
that! It's
Yeah,
always
that and the
Just never
cattle.
know.
The
Yeah.
cattle were having a hard time. We were trying to get hay to the. They don't have a lot of cattle up there, but everybody has one or two cows, and
Yeah. But in
so-
that particular area, they were all needing food.
I have a sister in Waynesville.
Oh, we're in Waynesville.
Oh,
We're
yeah?
in Waynesville.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, no
yeah.
How
kidding.
cool is
Yeah.
that?
It's
Yeah,
fun.
that's
Yeah.
a nice artsy little town.
It
It
sure
is.
is. We love Waynesville.
Cool. But they too, of course, she had a house in Florida, so
Yeah.
naturally when that was coming, she got the heck out. But
Yeah.
when going back, she saw quite a bit of water damage.
Was your properties
No,
either here
no,
or there?
No,
impacted?
neither.
Good.
No, neither here. Well, here in Harbor Oaks, of course, there's no flooding there.
Mhm.
And then up there, no. We're up almost to 4,000 in elevation, and we're in between Silva and Waynesville. So
We're on Western, so
Western.
we're west of Asheville.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everything east of Asheville
Yeah.
got hit the hardest. Black Rock and
Mhm.
all those towns over in that area. Those ones got really hit hard.
Okay.
So it was devastating. It was just
It really is.
the things that were going on. Yeah.
And you don't think with North Carolina, if you don't think of hurricanes. You do on the coast,
On the
Yeah.
coast for sure, but
Sometimes,
not
but
up in the
not-
mountains.
not up in
No.
the mountains,
No.
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
Rockies and
Yeah.
Smokies. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so
We had some beautiful snow in the last couple of days, but it was sort of bittersweet to even have any social media about it because we all know about all the people up in Western North Carolina that are suffering. And
Still
so
living in
they're
tents.
still living in tents. So for us to say, "Oh, this is a beautiful snow picture,"
yeah, I know.
your
They're
heart
still
is
living
breaking.
in tents?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's very
In the winter?
Yes, it's very
Wow.
devastating. It really is. They need a lot of help. They really do.
Wow.
They need some sleeping bags that are certified to 40
Certified
below.
to Arctic
Yeah.
temperatures.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's something else. How have local, state, and federal elected officials helped with the devastation caused by the hurricanes and Milton and Helene as far as you're working with them?
Well, I do know that there are a couple here in the county, in Pinellas County, that are working on, Kathleen Peters and Linda Cheney and those guys are working on trying to relieve this look back period where homes have had some repairs done prior to the storm to remove that number off of the 50% rule. So don't count that. So they're trying to alleviate that look back number.
I see.
Those guys here in Pinellas County are doing that. More importantly, though, is Senator Nick DeSegli and the fact of Elevate Florida. And Elevate Florida is really quite nice. I'll leave this brochure with you. I brought it with.
I'd like to have Nick on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great
He's
idea.
been on. He and his whole family here, as a matter of fact.
We're very close friends with Nick. Actually, Andy has challenged him to be the governor and then maybe the president in some time. They both were in leadership Pinellas together, and they were both in Tallahassee, and they're sitting up in the Senate. And Andy he goes, you really look good like that. He goes, no,
It was funny. I took a picture
no,
of
I'm
it.
not going to do this.
We were,
So
we
we
were
can
sitting in
say-
the house.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in one.
I think you were in the Senate.
Was that?
Yeah.
Either way, we were sitting in all the representatives' chairs, and so I took a picture of him with my phone and I sent it to him. I said, "You look pretty good." and he said back to me, he said, "No way. I
Yeah.
have no interest
Look at him
in doing
now.
it. It's
Look at
never
him.
going to happen. Never going to happen."
I think he has the
When it-
most chairs.
When he ran for the first time,
Uh-huh.
he took that picture and used it as his picture for running.
Oh, that's funny. That's too much.
But really what's going on there, and I really commend him for it, because he is out on the beach and he did receive some damage. However, his home is razed.
Who's
so
that?
Nick,
Oh,
Senator Disegli,
Yeah.
and his wife, Erica, lovely family. But he did have some damage. But more importantly, he's really, really fighting for this area. And one of the things is this Elevate Florida. And hopefully this can do some good here in the region as it relates to some of the elected
I
officials.
think his wife is an accomplished singer.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful singer.
Yeah, we had them on the
Yeah.
show. They have a
I
great
remember.
family.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a website,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
your listeners should go to the website. Just type in Elevate Florida,
Yeah.
Okay.
Florida
and
disaster.
it'll begin to explain this thing. This is a 1-year process in order to get a house
Yeah.
funded and raised through the state and with state help.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
great
And
project.
the other thing that I think I'd like to shout out to all the fellow and my former elected officials, just my passion as it relates to people that are in that role as elected officials, whether it's in the city, the county, the state, or the federal level. One of the things that maybe that doesn't actually get exposed to them quite often, and that is NEMA. And it's the Elected Officials Guide to Emergency Management. So it's not FEMA, it's called NEMA.
Nima.
And NEMA is what it does is it gives them leadership guidance in the role of elected officials. It's an emergency program that's offered that not many elected officials know about. But what happens is it gives them a great resource
Mhm.
to bring funding from Tallahassee and from DC here into the state. The more elected officials that get their heads around NEMA, especially because we are prone to so many hurricanes, the more that we can all work concisely together.
Mhm.
There's a lot of ways to regionalize our efforts. One of my passions, and I'll just put a plug in there, is that the Metropolitan Planning Organization currently here in Pinellas County is working together with Pasco and Hillsborough County to regionalize so that they can get more funding to get more resources on the infrastructure side of our state and in our region and in our county and in Tampa Bay. So this is the same kind of concept. So it's basically for the elected officials to learn more about the emergency management system so that they can become more active and help when the crises happen. So they're not just relying on the resources of city managers and the staff within those cities, but they're also relying on these programs that are out there for them to actually do more work within their communities.
You would think that would be required for all.
Sometimes,
Uh-huh.
when I was sworn in, we went through these emo classes,
Mhm.
but sometimes it depends on the type of cities, how they're structured, if you're strong mayor or city manager for any form of government, and whether or not they roll the programs out to those different cities. That's the biggest key. So I just want to stress that NEMA is out there for all of our 24 cities within Pinellas County to go and look that up so that they can get some good comprehensive understanding of what it means if we have hurricanes again next year.
What does NEMA stand for?
It's the National Emergency Management Association. So
Okay.
it takes care of that within our state and within the federal government.
Is there contact info?
Yeah, there is. And I'll leave these papers with you so that you guys can put them
That's
out on your
also a
social.
website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I was going to say, people that do have houses that are marginal on that edge. First of all, the financial end of it is how much, if you owe anything in the house. If you, we do know that some of the banks, and Bay First
Yeah.
is one
Yeah.
we would
Yep.
talk to.
Mhm.
They have programs. If you have a lot of equity in your home, they'll
HELOC.
they'll give you a HELOC for the elevation, and The other thing to consider is if you do elevate your home or your house is built above flood, it's going to be worth more than it was on
Yes.
the ground.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
So there is some other, those things, those are all the things that have to be balanced when you're looking at if you're going to elevate a home, rebuild a home, or just sell it outright. Is all those things. And people need to understand it's not just the numbers game. It's to look at the philosophy of what it is in your individual situation. So it may not be hopeless, but it also depends on your individual situation and where you are with the property and the whatever encumbrances are against the property is all that.
What's a HELOC?
HELOC is a
home
second
equity
mortgage.
line of credit.
I see.
Yeah. So it's basically it's a type of lend. And now what the banks like Bay First is doing is they're making those HELOCs very low interest and longer terms so that you can actually survive it.
Payments are
Right.
manageable.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So they're working with, and that's not, I'm sure other banks have the same sort of offers. And that's another way in which that I think our communities can come together is to look at the insurance companies, the banks, and, all the different folks that touch the home to get it back to the way it is. And let's face it, Tampa Bay is growing tremendously.
It is.
We have a lot of very powerful businesses and leaders that are coming in. Tampa itself is in the trillions, and now Pinellas is in the billions. So we're going to be looking at a future that's very, very rewarding, I would say. So to hang in there and look at your resources and call on folks, and by goodness, if I can leave one last plug. By God, check. Department of Business and Professional Regulations, please check. Make sure that who you're hiring is licensed and has insurance.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
so
yes.
important. It's so
Very
important.
important.
It is.
Very,
Because you're going to get caught short.
yes.
And if somebody's doing a shabby job, it's going to get around.
Yes.
It's going to get out there.
Yes.
And there are no there are no discounted prices.
No.
Yeah.
If it's
Nothing's cheap.
discounted,
You
there's
have a
something
problem.
else going on.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about if the price is too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Sheriff Gualtieri and also our Clearwater Police Department, all the police departments within the 24 cities that have done a great job to try to help protect the citizens with regards to unlicensed contracting. For sure.
So how about becoming? Well, we don't have time, but give us your contact info again.
Yes. Okay. So D-MAR general contract, D-MAR.com is our webpage. And you could reach us. We've been in business since 2001 here in the city of Clearwater. And Andy can be reached at 727-423-2770. And I am 727-423-9969.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Kelly Kelly
Thanks
Show.
for having us.
Happy to have you, and tune us in every Monday at the same time and station for another edition of the Kelly Kelly Show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the award-winning Kelly Kelly Show on the Tan Talk Radio Network.